You've seen me use this analytical tool on my streams. Well, now it's time for me to share it with you. Today, we're going to be talking about a new tool that's been created for Football Manager 23. I call it Dr. Jit. So possession has changed, but we're not going to focus on that. We're going to look at some of the other statistics that are very important if you want to analyze your team. Right at the top of all these statistics is a big change. Open play key passes are very important right now because they tell us how many chances a player can create off a given pass that is made during periods of open play. This is a good measure of a player's creativity. While I like all these statistics, some of you have probably noticed I've been playing without any attributes. I've been doing that since FM22. The challenge of playing without attributes is that you need to depend on statistics. You need to look at a player's performances, and it opens a whole new window on understanding our own players. Now, so I started using an Excel spreadsheet last year. Then a friend of mine came along and decided, hey, why don't I simplify the whole process for you? Why don't we do a tool? So I've got this new tool, and it's basically allows you to upload a HTML file for your statistics. Now, if you go into a game, you got all these statistics, right? What you need to do is to understand the tool first. The tool can only be used in the player search window. In this window itself, you'll be able to analyze your own team. Plus, you can also analyze how your team is doing against other teams as well. So here, for example, I've created a filter, and this filter is set to my own squad. And then what you need to do is you need to come in here, Control A, highlight everybody, go to the bottom of the screen, and then go back to the top. Don't ask me why. This is how it works on a Football Manager. Then you hit print. Print it as a web page. Once it's printed as a web page, you come in here to this tool, and then you upload it to the tool. Look for the file that you've created. Here we've created it as dot pop, and there we go. It's going to have all the important statistics in the game, right, from that view, which I will provide a link to in this video. And then we can start comparing our players. Like I had this situation with my club. I had two defenders, a 5-star and a 2-star, but a 2-star was always performing better than the 5-star. And I was wondering what gives. But if you go into the game, where do you start? So I took an idea from fbrough.com and also FMstack, because FMstack also started doing some analysis like this. I put it into an Excel spreadsheet and I put all their defensive actions into one category and call it defensive actions. Then it becomes easier because now you can compare the performances of two players. The same thing is happening at sites like fbref.com. They take statistics of a defender's actions, group them together, and then give them a score. I've done the same thing here with this tool, but now it's for Football Manager. While I know some of you are probably going to run off and download the tool and then download the view and go use it, you might want to understand one thing. There's a limit to the number of players that you can import, 200 players. Secondly, please be careful of the language because it's optimized for the English language, and translating into all these other languages is a bit of a challenge. So if you might see an error, if you've used the correct view, that is probably down to the language settings on your computer. You might want to change it to English, and then maybe you might get a different result. Finally, all decimals are set to dots and not commas. So you might want to make sure that your decimals are set to dots instead of commas. When you go into the tool the first time, it'll open up like that. There's a lot of information here, right? Open this panel up. You've got filters. You can choose filters. You can select greater than maybe 100 minutes, add it, and you got yourself a filter. And it will sort out it will only include players who have played 100 minutes. This is fantastic because sometimes I'm looking for players who are very good at creating chances. So I use the filters and then I use the chance creation score to tell me what kind of a player they are. Then finally, we've got groupings. Here we've got the attacking statistics. Here's all the mathematics. Then we've got the creative statistics. Then we've got default, which basically just refers to this league. Then we've got the defensive statistics, the player name, and the basic stats, height, average, apps, minutes, and wages. So now if I just wanted to have a quick profile of these players, I can do something like this. I can remove all these. And what do I have? I've got players by name, position, because the rest of the stats are in there. If you understand the stats, it's easier. But now we've grouped all the defensive actions, the chance creating actions, and scoring efficiency. So basically what I've done is I've gone to all the stats and grouped them together. Now, what are the stats that go into the calculation of these scores? Now, let me explain what scoring efficiency is. When you go into the game of Football Manager, you got something called XG over performance. I'm not a big fan of XG over performance because it's an absolute number. It doesn't really help me very much. What I like to see and try and understand is for the number of goals he scored, how many of them were actually coming off good chances? Now, to do that, what I do is I plot a ratio. So it's basically XG non-penalty goals divided by non-penalty XG. That gives me a ratio that's easier to work with. So here, a player who's got an XG less than 1, well, if he's a striker, he's not doing a very good job. If a player has an XG equal to 1, then he's doing a decent job. He's not fantastic, but he's doing a decent job. For every for every decent XG he's getting, he's bearing it. But a player who's got a ratio of greater than 1.2 or 1.3, now this player is somebody you want to look out for. Players like Erling Haaland, normally when in my test, do something like 1.4 to 1.5 XG, which means that these players are very good at finishing their chances. They're also finishing chances from more difficult positions. Then you get a very good scoring efficiency. Now, occasionally you might see outliers like this. This is 3.33. It means that this player has scored goals that are ordinarily very difficult. You will typically find defenders in this category or some players scoring some fluke goals from the halfway line. They might have some very high numbers like this. This just means that you need to look into the player a bit more. Chances are these are goals from corners or flukes. So when it comes to chance creation, I'm very happy that SI included key open play key passes per 90, because an open play key pass is any pass in open play that led to a shot on goal. It doesn't matter if it's a good shot or a bad shot, it's just a shot. And then we got chances created per 90, which is a reflection of good chances that were created. We take these two, create a ratio, and we've got a creation score. My last category is the defensive actions category. Now, this defensive actions category basically gives me a profile of the defender. It takes interceptions per 90, headers won per 90, clearances per 90, and tackles per 90, puts them in a group, gives them a score. And last season, every time one of my players ends up with the highest defensive action score for an entire league, he ends up being the best defender in the league and wins an award. So I know that this is fairly accurate. Champions League quality is 6 and higher. Average defender is around 5. Why bother doing this? Because I don't want to use an Excel spreadsheet anymore, because manipulating an Excel spreadsheet is a lot of pain. Now, this makes things a lot easier. On top of that, I can compare my own players against themselves. Now, let's use Borussia Dortmund as an example. You can close all the panels up like this, and then you can just pick the ones you want. If you turn it to the left, it closes the panels. When you turn it to the right, it opens the panels. I want to look at the player and the calculated scores. So if I'm looking at this, we'll have things like descending and ascending. Now I want to look at and see who are my best defenders. If I do this, you'll tell me my best defender is Nicolas Soulé, but look at this, chance created is 2 or 0.00 as a score. In fact, my 2 defenders are doing better than my fullback. And my fullback is 1.00, but his defensive contributions are fantastic at 4.00. But why in the world are my defenders doing so well? So if I wanted to get a deeper dive into this, I'll have to open this up and look at attacking, right? So here I've got assists. So you can see that my defenders have actually generated assists from the back. Both of them have generated some decent assists from the back. And here in this particular case, we can go further. As you can see here, he's created 1 clear-cut chance, which is the reason why his creative numbers are so high. Now, as you play more and more games, these numbers will drop, of course, because we only recently started. But it gives me a very good way of understanding my own team. Now, of course, if you wanted to go and scout for players, you can use the same principles. Now, if I wanted to scout a defender out there to replace maybe Nicolas Soulé, I need somebody who's got a defensive action score that's pretty high. This is insanely high. This is very, very high. 7.652 means that he's been an outstanding defender. If I want to pick my starting defenders, then it would be Nicolas Soulé and the defender just below him. So I would have to pick Nicolas Soulé and Mats Hummels. Right, see, these are my 2 starting defenders. But of course, Mats Hummels is a bit slow. Then there'll be Nicolas Soulé and Nico Schlotterbeck as my starting 2 defenders. And then, of course, the wingback here will be Thomas Müller. This gives me a very good understanding of my players. Now, whenever I play Philippe Passlack on the left, he's decent defensively, but he doesn't really create very much as a fullback. Then I'm looking at my midfielders. This is interesting, right? Now I'm coming to my midfielders, and you notice one thing. Here, I've got Salih Osan. He has come on as a substitute a few times, but even as a substitute, he performs really well. 3.228 is his defensive score. His creative score is around 1.335, and his scoring efficiency is 1.818, meaning that from midfield, his scoring is pretty solid. Then I'm looking at Jude Bellingham. I've been using Jude Bellingham in a unique way, right? So his defensive actions are pretty good, but look at this, 0.841 for chances created. It's not bad. If I'm looking at my tactic, you'll be even more surprised. I've been using Jude Bellingham as a ball-winning midfielder, So in this tactic, Saleh Oshan has been playing here. And again, I've got Mukoko and Ediyemi in attack. Munier is playing as a inverted wingback. I was Sule and Hummels and Schultz playing on the left. You know, if you've been playing the game for as long as I have, you probably heard people telling you if you want a role that creates chances, you've got to use a playmaking role. In reality, the game of Football Manager is a lot more simpler than that. Actually, all you got to do is look at his attributes. If a player has very good attributes to create chances, he will still create chances. Right. A roaming playmaker role just makes him the focus of passes and his teammates, and occasionally he's going to be making those passes. But when it came to Jude Bellingham playing as a ball-winning midfielder, I didn't bother. I just wanted to see what would happen, and he still creates chances from midfield. Now, granted, I've got chances coming from everywhere because this is the tactic that I created. I created a tactic that was supposed to create chances from everywhere. It creates chances from the ball-playing defenders. It creates chances through the roaming playmaker. I know sticking Jude Bellingham here as a ball-winning midfielder will also create some chances. I've got chances coming from the wings. I've got chances being generated by my three strikers. Why do I use this tool? Now, we're starting off the season. We're not doing too badly. We're first in the league. Yeah, we're okay. Right. 5 wins, 4 wins, 1 draw. Then I go to the data hub. The data hub also paints a very pretty picture. Shooting forwards, we're in this quadrant, it must be good, right? Then we come into this quadrant, scoring forwards, we're in this quadrant, we must be good, right? Okay, this is where I get very, very cautious, right? Because I like to look at this as well, team, and then I'm going to look at my general performances. Okay, we've got expected goals per game, 2.54, goals per game, 3.20. Okay, not bad, right? Expected goals against per game, 1.19. Okay, I'm giving chances away too. So this is an area of the game I have to improve. But let's talk about, I want to drill down a bit more into these kind of numbers. Why do we have such nice numbers? I come in here. This is how I use my tool. So now I'm going to look at my players and see in terms of scoring, what's the story. So I arrange this in a descending order. You can see a very clear picture here in terms of who's scoring all the goals. Amr Chan set pieces, 5.882, all outside the area. Nicholas Sule set pieces, all outside the area. Saleh Oskan, who's been playing as a roaming playmaker in place of Amr Chan. So wherever I see his name, I'm going to look at Amr Chan as well. Okay, creating chances, 0.64. Saleh Oskan is a bit better, right, in terms of creating chances as a roaming playmaker. Saleh Oskan, I think that's how you pronounce his name. But now when I'm looking at my strikers, because I got 3 up front, Doniel Marlon, 1.639. He's very good at finishing off his chances. Then if I go down, Niklo Mukoku, 1.170. Meets expectations, nothing to be too excited about. Ediyemi, 0.938. But what stands out for me is that these two players can create chances for their teammates. So this tells me in a nutshell that while I'm scoring a lot of goals, the front players are not really gelling together just yet. So if I wanted to modify this, I would probably modify this by personnel. So here I would probably look at Mukoku playing in this position, right? We might have to retrain him for this position. So he might be better off arriving late as a shadow striker, or we will get Hazard playing in that position. So I'll push Hazard here and probably play Julian Brandt in this position. So I can use Hazard as a shadow striker since he already knows this position. So we'll use Hazard here. And then as Mukoku gains experience learning this new position, he can start playing in this position more regularly. If I wanted to order my midfielders and see who are the best, we've got Thomas Munier as a fullback, Paslak as a fullback, then I got Saleh Oskan here, 3.228, and then I got Jude Bellingham, 2.827. He's doing a very good job in midfield trying to win the ball back. And not only that, but he can create chances from deeper positions. He's doing better than some of the other playmakers. So this tool can be used in a lot of different ways. You can also scout for players using the filters, right? So you can set up a filter for dribbles per 90, for example, or fouls against. You can have that set up, filter that, and then look for chance creation. A play with a high chance creation with dribbles per 90 and for high fouls against is an indication that the player might be quite good at taking on players and creating chances for his teammates. In the future, there might be updates to the tool. When there are updates to the tool, I'll do a new video because you need to download a new view. So don't forget, you need to use a specific view. You need to use it from the scouting page. Ideally, you want to be playing Football Manager in an English language. If you see a passing error, even after you've done the first two, chances are your language does not support the tool. So you probably will have to, play Football Manager just for a short window of time in English. I'm sorry, but supporting in multiple languages is a bit of a challenge. I hope you enjoyed today's video, found it useful. And if you enjoyed the tool, let me know. There will be updates to the tool later to include age. You guys stay safe, take care of each other. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.